Okay, right. Welcome to the Cheltenham Borough Council Planning Committee, being held on Thursday the 15th of February 2024. My name is Councillor Paul Baker, I'm Chairman of the committee. This meeting is being streamed live to Cheltenham Borough Council's YouTube channel, and the recording of the meeting will be held for 4 years. If there are any breaks in transmission to the YouTube stream, the meeting will be adjourned for a short period until any issues are resolved. To the public present, well, there aren't any, but I'll say it anyway. If you are here to make a representation to the meeting, you are consenting to the use of the sound and video recordings for broadcasting and training purposes. Please be aware that CCTV and audio recording is now in operation in the public gallery. The recordings will be held by the council for 5 months. Please note, a fire alarm test is not expected, so if the alarm does sound, you should immediately make your way to the nearest exit. Okay. I think members will be aware that we haven't got the overhead presentations working this evening, which is a shame, so you will have them all on your laptops. Unfortunately, there aren't too many. So agenda item 1 is apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Paul McCloskey and Councillor Jackie Chellin. Welcome, Jackie is substituting for Paul. Item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest, guys? No, thank you. Declarations of independent site visits. We didn't have planning view. Did anybody? Councillor Nelson and Councillor Clark.
I visited 61 East End Road, and I know the Evesham Road, but just the one.
Councillor Clark.
In. I visited 61 East End Road.
Okay? Yeah, sorry. On the minutes of when we did Lansdowne Trading Estate, the agent opened up saying, and we're lucky we've got video, we can check it, 3 planning managers and 5 planning officers later, and then said he'd done a pre-app, which he'd paid for. He didn't mention that, and it took 2 years to come to committee. And that's the one thing I would like that recorded. And the other thing is, at the end of the meeting, I requested an update on the legal costs for the appeal on Marsh Lane, and it's not recorded, and it hasn't. And it said it would be brought forward, and it hasn't. Okay. Yeah.
Did officers want to comment on that? You may know. Yep. Thank you. So someone will get back in touch with Councillor Fisher with that information. Great, thank you.
And it will be in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So subject to that, people happy that I can sign those as a correct record? Yep, lovely, thank you. Okay, no public questions, so we'll move on to the first application tonight. Which is 61 East End Road, and I'll invite Victoria to introduce the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this application's at 61 East End Road. The proposal is for a single-storey extension. The application is at Planning Committee due to an objection from the Parish Council. So the first slide is a Google Earth image of the site and the site location plan. Second slide is photographs taken from the highway. The extension is located to the left-hand side of the dwelling. The next slide is a Google Earth Pro image. The site is at the top of the image. The next slide is the proposed block plan showing the location of the extension. The next slide is the existing elevations and floor plans. Note the existing conservatory. The next slide is the proposed elevations and floor plans. In response to the Parish Council, the applicant has revised the plans. The revised drawing shows the extension set back 150mm from the south elevation. The black timber cladding has been changed to lighter cladding, and the black windows and doors have been changed to white aluminium. The next slide is an image of the proposed cladding. You'll note that it is lighter. So the key planning matters for this application is design, impact on neighbouring amenity and sustainability. Having considered all the relevant planning matters for the reasons discussed in the Planning Officer's report, the recommendation is to permit the revised application subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions, members? Go to debate. Any debate? Anyone like to speak on this one? Okay, so move to the vote. The recommendation is to permit. Those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous. Thank you all very much. Okay, so we'll now then move on to... Oh, I'll let you're going to shoot off the drawing. Yeah. Okay, so the next item then is the hedge removal at Evesham Road, and I'll ask Sam Wheeler to introduce the item. Thank you, Sam.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Okay, this is a hedgerow removal notice, which is not something we deal with every day. And the proposal is to remove sections of hedge along the A435 between the boundary to the north with Tewkesbury and the roundabout with New Barn Lane. Okay, so the first slide explains primarily the hedgerow to be removed is to the east of the A435. There are two sections to the west, just north and south of the railway bridge. There's a 50 metres long. The proposal would accommodate a new cycle path and footpath connecting Bishop's Cleeve to Cheltenham, but we should be clear here that we're not discussing that proposal really. We're discussing the hedgerow removal notice. Okay. Second slide shows removals to the north and south of the railway line. I hope that's clear enough for you to see. It's the red lines next to the road itself. Okay. Now, according to the hedgerow regulations 1997, the trees officers have made an assessment of the hedges to be removed. One section was worthy of meeting the criteria to be deemed important, in that it is adjacent to a public footpath. There are at least 4 woody species per 30 metres of that hedge. There's a parallel hedge within 15 metres. There's a bank or wall supporting at least half its length, and it's uninterrupted. Now, we therefore, as a local authority, have the power, but not the obligation, to protect that section of hedge only. We do not have the power to protect any other sections of hedge which are proposed for removal, because none of the others meet the criteria to be classed as important, as per the regulations. So it's roughly 240 metres to the east, adjacent to the car park of the racecourse, which we should be discussing or considering. So we have to decide whether we issue a retention notice to retain that section of hedge, or whether we think that the removal of that section of hedge is justified. Now, I should have said that my recommendation is to issue no objections to the proposal. We have 2 options: retention notice for that section of hedge, or no objections. We have no other options. No other section of the hedge meets the criteria, I've said that, so we cannot protect anything else. So the context: what is the justification for the removal of the hedge? It's a cycle and improved footpath scheme that would connect Bishop's Cleeve and Cheltenham, and then beyond to Gloucester and Stroud, I believe. Replacement hedgerow is planned for most of the sections removed. It can't be replaced for all of H4 due to site constraints. It can be replaced for all but 20 metres of that, where it's, because of the adjacent land use, you can't physically put a hedge back in. We've negotiated new trees standards to be planted alongside both sides of the road. The specifics are yet to be finalised, but it will be somewhere between 80 and 100 trees to be planted along that route. Alternatives to removing that section of hedge have been investigated by Highways, and it's not feasible, unfortunately, either to bypass the hedge or to move the hedge or to reroute the whole thing somewhere else. There's a representative from Highways who can speak more on that, hopefully. The funding for the cycle path relies on certain criteria being met in terms of the design specification of the cycle path and footway. So, their hands are tied to a certain extent. Okay. The next slide. Now, I don't know if you actually have this in your PowerPoints. This was a late addition, but it shows the extent of the new hedges to be planted. Bold green lines, yes or no? No? Okay, well, I apologise that you haven't got that version, but it shows the majority of hedges to be removed being replaced by new hedges. The specification for the new hedges to be planted are very good. The highways agencies have been very cooperative to our suggestions of how that should be planted. Triple row, staggered, nice sized trees with a good mix of native species.
We have had that.
You have had that?
That has been circulated.
Okay, okay. As I say, the new trees to be planted will be standard size, but the final details of exactly where and exactly what species are yet to be finalised. But we're in discussion with Tewkesbury Trees Officer Gaynor Baldwin and 2 county trees officers as well to make sure that that's all hunky-dory. So policies which justify the removal of the hedge. So the Joint Core Strategy Strategic Objective 7 promotes sustainable transport, and the NPPF paragraph 8 and 9 to do with promoting healthy and safe communities and sustainable transport. You'll note that neither national policy nor local policy mentions hedges specifically. Consultation went out to adjacent landowners, the nearest parish councils, ward councillors, Wildlife Trust, Wildlife Records, County Archaeology and English Nature. 2 site notices were put up. There was no public response received. There have been local sightings of badger and hedgehogs. The Wildlife Trust advised contingency planning should be included in the ecologist report, and the revised report has been produced to that effect. The next slides are all photos. Probably most of you know this road fairly well anyway, but we'll skip through the photos. Okay, so recommendations. No objections from us. There's only one section that can be legally protected by the LPA. The decision to issue hedge retention notice or no objections for the section of hedge is at our discretion. There's no further guidance in the hedgerow regulations about what is and isn't in the public interest, so it's up to us. And you know, it's clearly justified in the MPPF and the JCS. It's in line with our strategic objectives. Alternative routes have been investigated and not deemed feasible, and the mitigating planting, I think, is strong. Therefore, the recommendation is no objections. Okay, thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Sam. As you mentioned, we do have the Highways Officer with us this evening. So you'd like to speak now? You have up to 5 minutes. And I'm really sorry, it's Richard, isn't it?
Yeah, Rich Lane from
That's it,
GCC.
Richard Lane. I forgot your surname, Richard. So you're very welcome, and I'll let you crack on.
Thank you. You have to excuse me, I'm not used to this sort of thing, but I just wanted to give a bit of an overview. You're probably all aware of Gloucestershire County Council's aspirations for the... Yeah. Do you want to sit? I'll sit a bit closer. To the aspirations for this 26-mile cycle spine throughout the county. We've been working on bits and pieces, and this is the one obviously between Cheltenham and Bishop's Cleeve. We know it's highly desirable. If you all know the route, you know how kind of dangerous it would be. I mean, it's dangerous walking along the footpath, let alone trying to cycle the road. So we're really trying to deliver a good product to link up Cheltenham and Bishop's Cleeve. As Sam mentioned, the funding is coming from DFT in the active travel. And as part of that, we have to meet the design criteria of LTM 120. So that dictates the widths and of the footway and cycleway and the available space that we need. And we are, as you know, it's where that hedge is situated, it's a bit of a bottleneck. So it's, if you're on the road, it's pretty hairy riding up it. So given the space and the need for land dedication, so we've been talking with farmers and the Jockey Club, we're quite short on space. We've got a solution, but unfortunately that solution means the removal of that hedge. We've taken a lot of advice from ecologists, tree officers. We've been working alongside Sam and Chris and been trying to adapt what we're proposing to the betterment of the area. So if, as Sam mentioned, trying to triple up on hedgerow planting rather than double. So we've been working extensively with them and taken on board what they're suggesting to try and mitigate as best as possible the removal of this hedge. And ultimately, I think it will improve the area. And that's what we're all trying to work towards. And I think that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for coming. And we may have questions which you may be able to help with as well. So, members, do we have any questions? Councillor Fisher, Councillor Clark, Councillor Wheeler, thank you.
Couple of questions. Who is the applicant? Because there's nothing on here. I assume, and I shouldn't really, no, I'll wait till I get the answer. And who is the landowner?
That's okay. So effectively, the applicant is the Highways County, and the land is Highways land. There's a compulsory buy on some of the land, but obviously, you know, not all of it.
Why is it not in county planning?
Because it's about the hedgerow, not about the application.
Shall I answer that?
Yeah, go on.
The application isn't the cycle scheme. The application is a hedgerow removal notice. We're the local authority for that, not the county.
But you said it was the border between Cheltenham and Tewkesbury in places. So Tewkesbury should be looking at it as well, perhaps.
Tewkesbury are looking at it as well.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, it is clearer now. Thank you, Sam.
Okay.
Thanks, Sam. I think Councillor Clark, then Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to hear that Highways have actually walked the road, because sometimes one has the impression they don't visit places and they run algorithms. I'd like to know, is there any opportunity to replant anything that's going to be ripped out? I'm not a serious gardener, I'm just asking the question. And secondly, the 80 to 100 trees, is there a deadline for that? Because I sponsored a tree and paid GCC for my tree, and they've taken the money, but I haven't got the tree yet. So I'd like to know when those trees are going in, please, and if we can condition it to have a deadline. Thank you.
Sam, or Richard, do you want to come up on that one?
Yeah, sorry, what was the first question? So,
Have we looked at relocating?
Relocated.
Yeah.
Okay. Hedgerow relocation is an incredibly difficult thing to do. It requires very expensive and large specialist equipment in order for it to be successful. You know, it's not my scheme, that part of it. We can't condition that. We can only issue a retention notice or no objections. I don't want to speak for Highways, but I'd say that it would be prohibitively expensive to try and move all of that hedgerow. We did discuss the possibility of transplanting or moving the important hedgerow. Still, I think it would be prohibitively expensive. Again, that's not a decision for us to make or really even discuss, because the part which we have power over is whether or not we retain the hedge. Yeah. So again, we have no powers to condition the planting of those trees or the timing of the planting of those trees. However, we're working with Rich closely and county trees officers to make sure that those are put in the ground when they should be put in the ground. And that would be at the end of the scheme, during planting season, in properly planned planting pits with properly designed aftercare and maintenance thereafter. And all of those have been discussed. Most of that is within the ecology report that's already been submitted. So for the hedgerow maintenance and the hedgerow planting, that's all been discussed, and is, you know, we're happy with that. The tree planting side of things, we're still discussing, but, you know, we trust that the trees officers at the county will make sure that happens as we would expect it to.
Richard, would you like to give us any reassurance on those points?
Yeah, so ultimately we want to make improvements. We understand the kind of, not, severity is probably the wrong word, but taking it out isn't ideal, but because we are, or we need to because of the project, we want to mitigate that as best as possible. That's why we've been working alongside tree officers and ecologists in trying to better the area, and that's why we're looking to plant so many trees and improve with more native species, hedgerows and stuff like that.
But you can't give us any clarity on the timing of the... We talk about the next planting season for a lot of this?
Oh, so yeah, so we're working alongside BGG, so there are arboriculturalists that work for the county. They're the ones that are geared up to do all the planting, and they also have a maintenance package that we pay them for to look after the I can't remember if it's 3 or 5 years, it's detailed, written down somewhere. But yeah, that will all be part of, well, all in next planting season.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Yeah, I know we're not considering the cycle path as such today, but do we have some idea, or can we be given some idea of what this cycle path looks like? I mean, where I'm coming from is if this was something like along the B4069 towards Staverton, I would say, now that's a really decent wide cycle path. If we're talking a broad footpath, shared use, I'm concerned that I couldn't sort of justify grubbing this hedge out for something like that. So can someone tell me what this cycle path is going to look like? I don't want actual figures, but just broadly what it is.
So it's pretty much the same kind of layout setup as we've got on the B4063, so segregated cycle pedestrian facilities. So with the green surfacing, 3 metre wide, bi-directional, and then this segregated footpath next to it for the whole run, apart from over the bridge, but that's opinion.
Thank you. Any more member questions? Nope. Any debate? No? Okay, recommendation is to permit. All those in favour, please show. I think that's also unanimous. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Sam and Richard and Chris. Okay.
Chair, if I may, through you, looking at the report, I believe the consultation period continues until tomorrow.
Correct.
Ah,
So are you happy to delegate that down to the head of planning, subject to no adverse responses?
I think so. Yeah.
Can members confirm that? Can I have just a show of hands on that?
Yeah.
Thank you, members.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thank you. Okay, we now move on to item 7, which is appeal updates. Just the matter report. Any questions, particularly on the appeal updates? Thank you very much. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Don't worry, it's not about the Miller.
Councillor
The Redrow 30, I think on the summary, says it's still under appeal, but it's been approved. The Redrow 30 at the top of Farm Lane. I'm sorry, I've lost my screen. It's gone blank. So I think it's on the last page of the appeals. It talks about the 30 Redrow application at the top of Farm Lane, and it has actually been approved by the inspector. Have I got that wrong? And if I have, I apologise. Yeah, but it doesn't show on there.